So, two people I know personally got laid off right before Christmas. One worked 28 years at a finance company, built it from the ground up, gone. The other worked 22 years and was 2 years away from retirement, and they were let go anyways. And everyone's reaction was the same. That's terrible. AI is ruining everything. And that kind of thinking does make sense. After all, 1.17 million jobs were cut in 2025. That's a 59% increase since 2024. Ford CEO was caught saying AI will replace half of all white collar workers. Salesforce was able to slash their customer support by 45% just this year. And their CEO was also quoted saying, "Our biggest problem is that we have too many heads." But everybody's so focused on AI taking jobs and on potentially losing their jobs that we're forgetting to ask a more important question. Was the 9 to 5 system ever really working in the first place? Here's what I mean. We grew up hearing the same promises. Our parents told us that if we work hard, we're going to get ahead. If we stay loyal, we're going to get loyalty back. If we get a degree, we are set for life. And we believed it because our parents believed it, and because that's what schools and professors taught us. But the numbers are telling a completely different story. Since 1979, productivity in America has gone up 64%. Meanwhile, real wages have gone up only 17%. That means workers are producing 64% more value and only getting a 17% raise. So, where did the rest of that productivity go? Well, CEO pay is up 1,322% since 1978. Contrast that to worker pay only being up 17%. The ratio of CEO pay to worker pay used to be 20 to 1 in 1965. Today, it is 399 to 1. Now, as a side note, I'm a CEO, I'm a business owner, and I'm not making a political argument here. I'm showing you the game board so you can decide for yourself how you want to play. So let's talk about housing. The median home price back in 2000 was $119,000. Today, it's $416,000. In 1970, a home cost about 3 times the median income. Today, the down payment on the median home is $83,000, and then the median savings that the average employee in America has, $5,300. And so let's say life throws you a curveball. 59% of workers wouldn't be able to cover a $1,000 expense. 1 in 5 couldn't cover a $500 expense if they had to. 27% have no emergency savings whatsoever, and 57% are living paycheck to paycheck. And here's the crazy part. No, that is not just the low earners. Over 20% of households that are making over $150,000 a year are stuck in the same cycle. But here's the one that gets me the most. 30% of 9 to 5ers are expected to work until they die. 50% have zero in retirement savings. And 85% will die in debt. How normal is it these days to go into a Walmart, a Target, a supermarket, and you see an old man or woman working that should have retired years ago? What I'm getting at is that this isn't an accident. This was designed. The 40-hour work week was created all the way back in 1926 by Henry Ford, founder of Ford Motors. Back then, people would work 6 days a week. And then came Henry Ford, who gave them an extra day off, not because he cared about his workers, but because he realized his employees needed more time to spend money. So he gave them Saturday off, creating the 40-hour work week, where 40 hours was just enough to consume, but not create. 2 days off was just enough time to spend, but not build. A few weeks of vacation were just enough to recover, but not escape. And what he wanted was for people to be making money Monday through Friday so they could spend it Saturday through Sunday. What this means is that for over 100 years, the 40-hour work week was created and normalized to create consumers, not builders. But what would happen if people started to catch on? What if workers started to push back, to strike, to organize, to demand more? Well, we have to rewind the clock another 8 years to when that was happening. Because after World War I, soldiers were coming home to no jobs. Strikes were breaking out across all countries, workers were organizing, protests were rampant, and worst of all, communism was starting to spread amongst the working class. And the elites had a huge problem on their hands, where if they didn't come up with a way to deal with these workers, to pacify these workers, they were going to lose control. So President Hoover came up with a plan to weaken the power of the working class. He created the American dream. On the surface, it seemed like a great idea. What it meant to become an American was to own a home. Everybody should have a home. The white picket fence, a house, a wife, 2.2 kids, and a dog. But the real purpose was to give control back to the elites. Because when people have a mortgage to pay, when people are in debt, they don't take risks, they don't protest, they don't strike, they show up, keep their heads down, and pay their bills. And so we went from 5-year mortgages to 20-year mortgages to 30-year mortgages, and now President Trump has even proposed a 50-year mortgage. What politicians realized was that the more debt that they could saddle onto the middle class, the more control they would have. And so came the credit cards, the student loans, the car loans. And every time you couldn't pay back a loan and the banks were about to fail, you ended up paying banks back through your taxes and bailouts. And I saw this whole system firsthand back when I worked at a bank. Doctors would come in, lawyers would come in, engineers would come in. The people that we were told had made it. They'd sit across from me trying to get approved for a home loan and couldn't qualify because they were drowning in student loan debt. These were the people we pedestalized as the pinnacle of 9-to-5 success. I grew up with my parents always telling me, Bruno, you should be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, because those are the people that get rich. And here they were sitting across from me, unable to qualify for a home because they were $200,000 in debt that they couldn't file for bankruptcy, they couldn't discharge, they couldn't get rid of. And so those people weren't buying homes until their 40s and 50s. And I remember thinking at a young age, like, hey, if the people who did everything right can barely make the system work, why the hell am I gonna play this game? That was the wake-up call for me. And this is why I'm sharing a little bit of a history lesson with you here. The reason is because AI is not the villain. AI is not the problem. AI is just the technology that's accelerating something that was set in motion over 100 years ago. The system was already squeezing you. Your salary was already not keeping up with expenses because real wages aren't just flat, but they've been falling behind inflation every single year. If you want to buy a house, you probably can't. If you're saving a bit of money, it's probably nothing crazy. And if you're thinking about retirement, your retirement plans probably looks more like you going out with a whimper than a bang. And AI didn't create this problem, but it is going to accelerate how quickly you lose whatever power you have left. Because AI has made it so companies can do more with fewer people, which they were always trying to do. Now they just have a better tool to do that. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. The system is broken. I'll just go find a better job, a more stable company, maybe one that actually values loyalty. And I get that instinct. It feels safer. But here's what you need to understand. There is no safe job anymore because both those people that I mentioned at the start of this video, the ones that got laid off, they worked for those types of good companies, the stable ones, the ones with loyalty. But eventually, like we always do, we hit a rough patch in the economy and those companies got sold. And then with new leadership came the layoffs. And with the next economic downturn came even more layoffs. And then with AI coming into the picture came even more layoffs. Point is that you can switch jobs all you want, but you are still playing the same rigged game. So what's the solution? Look, straight up, if you play middle class games, you are going to get middle class results. As long as you're in the 9-to-5 world in some way, shape, or form, there's an 85% chance you end up living a life where banks and creditors own you. And I can probably map out your entire life, and your entire life can probably be mapped out. The little bit of money that you save, the mortgage you'll pay off in 30 years, your frugal retirement, and the hope that your kids somehow magically end up better than you. But hope isn't a strategy. The only way out is to stop playing middle class games and start playing wealthy games. The wealthy, they do not trade time for money. They build assets, they build businesses, they build systems that work while they're sleeping, on vacation, at the gym, out on date night, with the kids. Because that's how you create real wealth. That's how you get freedom. That's how you escape from the 9-to-5 trap. And no, I'm not telling you to go quit your job right away because that would be incredibly reckless and risky. But I do want to address that gut reaction that everybody has about starting a business where they think it's risky or overwhelming, or that you have to get lucky to make it. And so let's start by showing you the actual math, because everything is risky. Doing something is risky and doing nothing is risky. For example, here's the risk of staying employed. Right now, you have a 30% chance that you're going to be laid off in the next 3 years. And then on top of that, there's a 50% chance that your entire skill set is going to be replaced or significantly changed by either AI or automations by 2030. That's not my opinion. That's what the data shows. But here's the part nobody talks about. Even if you keep your job, your real wages aren't staying flat. They're actively falling behind inflation every single year, which means if you lose your job, you're screwed. And if you keep your job, you're getting poorer anyways. Both paths leads to you losing. And if I wasn't afraid to hurt your feelings, what I would tell you is that if your entire financial life depends on trading time for money at a company that would replace you tomorrow if it could, that could get bought out at any time, and you don't have a side hustle or a business, then you are setting yourself up for failure. Now, starting a business, sure, there's risk there too. Some hours, maybe a few $100 in software and tools. If it doesn't work, you learn something. You still keep your job. You're in the same place that you started. But if it does work, at least there's upside. With a job, the upside is that you're progressively getting squeezed more and more. When you're making $20,000 of passive income and you're traveling the world and you have breathing room to invest, your bills are taken care of, and you have something to pass on to your kids, and you have no limit on your income, and you're in control over your time, your money, your life, then that is true upside. Getting a mortgage paid off in 30 years, that is not upside, because you can do that way faster if you get a business. Point being is that the downside of starting a business, it's capped and it's actually incredibly low, but the upside is unlimited, and that's where the difference is. And contrary to what a lot of people say, that is not risk. That is asymmetry rigged in your favor. And that is what every great opportunity looks like. Look, you can't control whether the AI wave comes or doesn't come. It's here already, but you can decide whether you're going to be a winner or a loser in all of this. And now here's where it gets interesting, because for the first time in history, building a business is possible without all of the normal downsides. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to invest multiple five figures. You don't have to go hire employees, and you don't need a degree or decades of expertise. AI has become the great equalizer and has made it so that one person with basic AI training can now do what used to take a team of 10. And so, what kind of business can you actually build with AI? Right now, you're going to see people pushing 4 categories of AI businesses. Number 1 is you have AI content. Number 2 is you have AI marketing. Number 3 is you have AI agents. And number 4 is you have AI trading. And so let me break down each one for you so you know what's actually worth your time. First is AI trading. I wouldn't touch it with a 30-foot pole. This is the classic get rich without doing any work promise. It's a scam. It's always been a scam. And that's all there is to say on it. So moving on. Second is you have AI agents. Some people also call this AI arbitrage. And it's the idea that you create custom AI solutions for businesses. Now, this business model, it's legitimate. It does work, but it does have a very high skill ceiling. It's complicated and it's hard to scale. You basically end up becoming an AI freelancer where you're still trading your time for money, just with fancy tools. And that's not what we're trying to build here, because we don't want to trade one job for another. Third is you have AI content, and you can make money with this. This is also another legitimate business model, but I wouldn't build a business around it, because at the end of the day, you are not in control. When you're creating AI content, you're at the mercy of social media algorithms and platform policies. And those policies are getting stricter every year. For example, just a few months ago, YouTube demonetized channels that were using AI voices. And so imagine having $20,000 per month in AI content income and then just watching it go to zero overnight because a third party decided to change their policy. To me, that's not a business. That's just like kind of gambling. That's like a slot machine. Now, the fourth one, and full disclosure, I am biased towards this, is AI marketing. Now, I'm biased because this is how I went from $53,000 a year as an office worker to making over $700,000 a year. And the business model is surprisingly simple. And I want to really show you why it works. So think back to the year 2000, where the internet is going mainstream. Business owners are starting to realize that maybe they need a website. At first, most of them are fighting the idea of having a website. The idea of getting customers to put their credit cards online sounds absolutely insane, but the businesses who did adopt the technology early, who got into Google Ads back when Google Ads were fresh, who built their websites early on, they made fortunes. And the ones who waited, they spent years trying to catch up to competitors who already had established online presences. And this shift created an entirely new industry: digital marketing. Suddenly, print ads, billboards, direct mailers, those all started to decline, and Facebook ads, Google ads, email marketing, funnels, all of it just exploded. And even though the industry kept evolving, the core business model stayed the same: get marketing clients, help them make more money, collect a monthly retainer, stack clients, and that's how you build financial freedom. Because if you need 20K a month in income so that you can retire your spouse, then all you have to do is get more clients. If you need 50K a month of income because you want to retire your parents, you can do that. It just means getting more clients. But point being is, financially, you are in control and you are not limited by anything. Let's say you hate working from an office and having to drive and commute to work, and instead you want to work from a beach, because you can work from anywhere as long as you have a Wi-Fi and a laptop. And then the third type of freedom is time freedom, because I'll be straightforward with you. When you start a business, yeah, it's going to require work. It's like a little baby and you have to help it grow. But eventually that baby does become independent and it can stand on its own. And then eventually it can take care of you. And that's where the real time freedom comes in. Because when you're building the systems and you stop trading time for money and you have location freedom and financial freedom stacked on top of it, that's when you know you've escaped the rat race and where life really takes off. And so here's where AI fits into all of this. There are 3 industries right now where you can build micro AI businesses even if you've never done any of this before. And I'm going to show you all three. Number one is the web design industry. It's worth $43 billion today, and it's going to more than double in worth by 2030. Two companies at the top are Wix and Squarespace, and they are worth $5 and $7 billion respectively. All that they do is offer website templates for small businesses, and you can do the same thing even if you've never designed a website before. For example, this is a website builder here where in under an hour, you can create a website and start selling it for $2,000, even $3,000. If you start selling one website a week, that's an extra 8 to 12K a month of income. And it doesn't take a genius to figure this out because AI is doing all the heavy lifting. Industry number two is reputation management. Now, when you go on Google and you look online because you want to buy something or hire someone, what's one of the number one things that you look at? It's what is their reputation? How many 5-star reviews do they have on Google? Having a good reputation for a local business is a make or break type of thing, where if you have a ton of 5-star reviews, you're going to be drowning in money. And if you don't, you're going to be struggling. And so, for example, this is a company called Podium. They help local businesses get more reviews to their Google profile, their Facebook, their Yelp, and they charge around $500 a month, but they are worth over $3 billion. You can offer the same exact services, but without having to do any of the tech work. These days, you have access to tools that let you set up automated review request systems in under an hour, where AI handles the messaging, the follow-ups, the whole process. And $500 a month, that doesn't sound life-changing until you realize that $500 a month of true passive income is the same thing as owning $250,000 in investment real estate. But the point obviously isn't to just get a single client, it's to stack 10, 20, 30 clients. Even if all you do is get one client a month, then 20 months from now, you have an extra 10K a month flowing in every single month, paying your mortgage, covering your bills, and giving you breathing room to grow. And I know what you're saying, but Bruno, I have no idea how to even get clients for this. And here's the thing, there are also tools that can help you with that. There are literally tools that will pull up a list of every business around where you live that needs help with their reputation. Thousands of leads, and they're just gonna hand it over to you. And then there are tools that automatically reach out to those businesses to turn them into clients. Like if you're thinking about starting a business in 2025, you have no idea how easy you have it compared to the previous generations. And if you're letting that opportunity go to waste, then man, is that something painful. But industry number three, this is one of my personal favorites. It's AI phone answering, and it's one that not a lot of people think about. I want you to imagine a time when you called a business, but nobody answered the phone. I know this has happened to me multiple times. Sometimes it's restaurants, barbers, gyms. It happens all of the time. And businesses are always missing phone calls. Maybe they're on the phone with another customer. Maybe the business owner's at a job site, or maybe they're closed for the night or the weekend. And every missed call is a missed opportunity. So take a remodeling contractor, for example. Every project that's reaching out to them can be worth somewhere between $3,000 to $70,000. One missed call could mean losing that much money. Now, a call center might cost that business owner anywhere from 2.5K a month up to 5K a month. You can offer the same service, but better, and charge them only $500 or $1,000 a month to set up an AI receptionist that answers every single phone call 24/7. And I'm not talking about one of those robotic systems that's like, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. I'm talking about a fully conversational AI that sounds human, that can book appointments, that can answer questions, that can qualify leads, that can film YouTube videos. Wait a minute, I'm not an AI, this is the real Bruno. The point being is that if they wanted that same level of 24/7 coverage by hiring a real person, they would need to go and hire like 2 to 3 $50,000 a year employees, and even that wouldn't be a perfect solution. And so you're offering them a service that could otherwise be costing them anywhere from 50K to 150K. You're giving them better coverage and for a fraction of the cost. It's a no-brainer for them, and it's recurring revenue for you. And so here's what you're probably realizing. These three services, web design, reputation management, AI phone answering, each one of them is valuable on their own. But guess what you can do? You can stack them. You can sell a website for 2.5K, offer them reputation management on top of it for $500 a month. And then if they also want an AI receptionist, increase your price to $1,000 a month. Now you're not just the service provider, but you're the complete solution. And here's what makes this even better. There's one platform that lets you do all three and even more. A single tool, a single login, one system, one thing that you got to learn, and it's a tool called GoHighLevel. It is the backbone of my entire business. This one platform handles the website building, the reputation management, all their automations, AI phone systems, CRM, email marketing, SMS campaigns, funnels, calendars, invoicing, literally everything. And they offer a 30-day free trial, and I'll leave a link to that below. But I know what you're probably thinking, and it's that the most important part of all of this is the tool. And don't get me wrong, the tools are important. You can't finish a job unless you bring the right tools. However, tools are only as good as their user. And that is to say that I can hand you all of the tools that you would need to build a house, the world-class tools, the very best ones, but it still wouldn't mean that you would know what to do. You wouldn't be able to put the house together because there's a missing ingredient, education. Because education is what bridges the gap between the lack of skills and lack of experience to getting results. And there are both free and paid ways to get that education. It just depends on how fast you want to move. So first, you can go learn for free and access the tool for free. Down below, you're going to find a link to a 30-day free trial of GoHighLevel. And when you start that free trial, I'm going to send you a course that shows you how to use the tool for free. And I'll even give you some of my AI prompts. And then second, if you want to work with me directly to help you have success with this type of micro business model as quickly as possible, then I have a private mentorship program that I'll leave a link to below. If you're interested in that, also feel free to reach out over Instagram. We can go over your situation and see if it makes sense. Both options are great. It's just a matter of how fast do you want to move. But the important thing is that you do move, because a year from now, you're going to be in one of two places. Place number one is you're still trading time for money, still anxious about the next round of layoffs, still watching AI take over more and more and more, and still getting squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter. Or place number two, you got your first handful of clients paying you every single month. You have the skills that companies are desperate for, and you've got income that doesn't depend on someone else deciding to keep you around. Same 365 days, but completely different outcomes based on what you do right now. And so if you've got 1 to 2 hours a day, a computer, and you're humble enough to learn a new skill, then you have everything that you need. The free trial link is down below. When you sign up, I'll send you a free course along with some templates. No fluff, no theory, just the systems that took me from 53K as an office worker to $700,000 a year as a free man. And so click that link and let's build together.